Okay, so the nice part about today is this new stuff isn't really that new. We've done a lot of this before, so here's how you do it. So again, if I want to write a line equation, I'm going to write y equals mx plus b, and I need to find my slope, and I need to find my y-intercept. And so those are the two pieces I'm missing. To do this, I need to find the slope that is parallel to this thing, this line, and goes through this point. So the first thing that I'm going to do is find the parallel slope. Well, if this slope is -1/2, a parallel line, as we learned from last week, means that the slopes are the same. So now I know this much. One common mistake is people try to make this y-intercept the same as this. Well, if they were exactly the same, then we'd have the same lines and they wouldn't be parallel. So this number is not useful to me. I'm not going to use it at all. But I do have this point. So I'm going to use that point to do what we did last week and plug that information in. So that's -4 and -1. So I'm going to go down here, plug in -1 for y, and -4 for x. And then I'm going to go through and solve. So if -1 equals, well, -4 times -1/2 will give me +2 plus b. So I'm going to subtract 2, and I'll get b is equal to -3. Now, this is where a lot of us had some issues on the quiz. This is not my final answer. Like, that is not my final answer. My final answer would be y equals -1/2 x minus 3. If they want a line equation, we want a y and an x, but this m and b I want to replace. Okay. Let's try one more example when the slopes are perpendicular. Okay, so now I need a line that's perpendicular to this and goes through this point. So again, we're going to start out the same way with y equals mx plus b. And this time, since it's perpendicular, a perpendicular slope is one where I flip the fraction, and if it was negative, we make it positive. It's the opposite reciprocal. So the opposite tells me to flip the sign, and the reciprocal tells me to flip the fraction. So we flip that fraction. And again, this back thing, means nothing. That isn't going to be my value. I'm going to use my point to figure this out. So we're going to plug that point in. So when I plug that point in, I'm going to have 5 equals 2 over 3 times 3 plus b. Well, that's really 3 over 1. The 3's would cancel, and I'd have 5 equals 2 plus b, minus 2, and b would equal 3. Again, this is not my answer. My final answer would be y equals 2/3 x plus 3. Make sure, again, that you have an y, you have an x, and then you just fill in the slope and you fill in the y-intercept. For a line, you need a y and an x so you can graph the thing. Okay? Try the different examples. Make sure today that you do the examples that are on the piece of paper. I want you to write them out so we can see this. We just had a few issues on the quiz writing those lines, but not necessarily finding the b value and the m value. So try those things.